All right, so with the release of Gumblar Dragon, um, I've been seeing a lot of videos of people hand looping that kind of thing using multiple cards. Um, Mermails can hand loop your opponent with 2 cards. You don't need anything else. You don't need an extra link. You don't need to do any of that. You can still get your negates and your interruptions with the 2-card combo. A lot of these combos you're going to see before, they just change up a little bit differently. But without further ado, here we go. So we're going to start with the regular combo. That's going to be, this is probably the best combo you can start with. Tejas Dragoons. This will get you to your whole board. So what we're going to do is we're going to discard the Dragoons, summon the Tejas. It doesn't matter where we put it. We'll put it here. The Tejas will get us to Prince. And then the Dragoons will get us to Prince. The Tejas will get us any Mermail. It doesn't matter what it is. This is really going to just be used for discard fodder. Because of the release of the Summon Sorceress, now you don't really rely on the Gund. It doesn't matter because the Summon Sorceress, makes it so if you can make a Tomahawk, you can make the big board, which is good. So we're just gonna search her. You could search the Gund. It's probably smarter to search the Gund just in case you get interrupted, but that's how it goes. So we'll summon the Prince. The Prince will send the Dragoons, and then the Prince will add a Dragoons. You trigger that Dragoons, get a Megalo to your hand. Now what you do is you discard the Dragoons and the Mermail that you searched to summon a Megalo. The Megalo is going to search you the Abyss Sphere, and then the Dragoons is going to search you the Moulin Glacier. And so let's see, you have 4 cards in your graveyard. So now what you could do is you can get rid of the Prince, and that'll summon your linked repo. Doesn't matter where you put it, we just put it somewhere. Now that you have that, you want to drop your Moulin Glacier to rip 2 cards from your opponent's hand. So we have discarded 2 cards from our opponent's hand right there. You don't want to put it here because that's where you're going to seize, obviously. And now the Abyss Sphere is in your hand, so I'm just going to keep this right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to overlay these 2. And we're going to overlay into Galaxy Tomahawk. We're going to detach 2. And you know what? I will use the tokens this time. Because I know I've been having these tokens a while. I might as well use them. So that's how we're going to end. Now we're going to get rid of these 2, the Tomahawk and the token. And we're going to get a Space Insulator. That gives us 2 Cybers we can use. We'll immediately get rid of both of those to summon the Summon Sorceress. Now the Summon Sorceress is going to search for a Crystron Rosenix directly from our deck. It's going to target the token that's right here. It's because it's a machine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get any Link 2 monster that points sideways. This really doesn't matter. I used to use the Nightmares. I'm just going to use a Proxy Dragon just to kind of prove that you can use anything. So we'll just do that right there. And then what we'll do is we'll get rid of the Moulin Glacier and the Summon Sorceress to go into a Firewall Dragon. Just like that. And so this is important because you want to use this token to go into a Link Spider. So now you have 2 cards pointing to your Firewall Dragon. And so what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to add Dragoons and Dragoons. Just like that. So now that's what you have. You'll get rid of these 2. And that'll summon your Ningirsu. And then because something left the field, you'll summon your Dragoons right here. Now you're going to banish that Crystron Rosenix you had in your graveyard to get an additional token back. So we'll just get the token. It doesn't matter because we're going to use the token. And, well, actually, you know what? This guy does need to affect monsters, so we'll get rid of the token, and we will summon another guy. Where'd he go? We will summon another Link Spider right over here. It doesn't matter, we're just doing this so we can summon the Gumblar. So we're going to get rid of both of those, and we're going to summon the Gumblar Dragon right over here. That'll trigger the Firewall Dragon, and lets you summon the Dragoons here. Now you overlay these two, go into your Bahamut Shark, and at this point, I know I always do these 2-card combos, but you're gonna actually have 3 other cards in your hand. So what I'll do is I will, we'll just pretend these are the other 3 cards you had in your hand, right? So now what you do, before you summon the Toad, you want to set the sphere, anywhere, because the sphere is going to come in clutch a little bit later. So now what we're going to do is we're going to detach one from the shark, and we're going to summon our Toad right over here next to the firewall. That's going to trigger their Gumblar, so you'll be able to discard 2 random cards from your hand. So it'll be Chain Link 1 to Bahamut, Chain Link 2 the Dragon. So we'll discard the 2 cards. I'll just put the 2 tokens back. They'll go right over here. And then your opponent's going to get rid of 2 more cards from their hand. So now they've discarded 4 cards from their hand. And so now what's going to happen, during their turn, they're going to draw a card. You're going to be able to flip. Now, you'll get your Dragoons effect. You'll be able to add an infantry. And so now you have 2 cards in your hand. You have what you search for the Dragoons, and then the other card that you drew. You also have this face down the Abyss Sphere, so when your opponent draws a card, so they'll go down to 3 cards lost. Well, you know what? We started at 5, they went to 3, then they went to 1. So when they draw their card, they go to 2. So now when you flip, you can, during the draw phase, flip the Abyss Sphere, and you can summon any Mermail to the field. I usually like summoning the Tejas, just because Tejas is really good. It has a big butt, and you contribute it with Totally Awesome if your opponent has a response. So then what will happen is your opponent will discard those 2 cards, so they'll have no more cards in their hand, and you'll discard this card and then the other card that you started with your opening hand. So what will happen is this will get destroyed, and your opponent won't have any options, so it'll be your turn. What'll happen then is you can enter your battle phase, but you'll just skip your battle phase as soon as you do that. That's totally fine because you're going to draw a card and you have a Totally Awesome to negate whatever your opponent draws. So what if you draw the Tejas Neptibus? This is one of the best card combos you can draw on the other one. Unfortunately, this combo does not let you hand loop your opponent. So what we got to do is we need an additional water monster in order to hand loop our opponent. So we're going to add a Gamma Seal to the mix. This is how you do it with this combo. So we'll summon the Neptibus. The Neptibus will send a Dragoons. That'll get us a Dragoons to the hand. What we're going to do too is I'm going to add a counter for how many cards we started. I had 3 in hand, so there's 2 additional cards for this. That's what this dice represents. It doesn't really matter what cards they are. They don't have to be monsters, spells, traps, anything like that. We're just going to interact with the 3 cards we have. This is only important because of the Gumblar. It requires additional cards. So now what we're going to do is we're going to trigger the Dragoons and get the Megalo. And so now what we'll do is we'll discard the Dragoons, we'll summon the Abyss Tejas, and then the Dragoons will get us the Moulin Glacier, just like that. And then the Tejas will get us just any Mermail, it doesn't matter what it is. Again, you can search for the guns just in case, but if you don't go interrupt it, it doesn't matter. It's probably smarter to go for the guns, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll show you that you don't even need to have the gun to do this combo. So once you do that, you will discard this and the Gamma Seal. It was important for you to have an additional water monster in your hand because if we wouldn't have, we would have had to discard the Moulin Glacier, and we don't want to do that. So we need an additional water in our hand in order to pay for Megalo's effect. We'll summon the Megalo. The Megalo will get us a sphere, and so now we have 4 in our grave. Easy enough. Get rid of the Neptibus. And then the Neptibus is going to summon us our Linkuriboh right up here. Now that we have 5, we'll drop the Moulin Glacier. Keep it away from this area just because you want to be able to, get a card from your opponent's hand. So your opponent goes from 5 cards to 3 cards, just like that. Now what we'll do is we'll overlay these 2, and we will go into our best friend, that's Galaxy Tomahawk. We'll detach 2. We'll get 3 tokens. 1, 2, 3. And so once we do that, we'll be able to go into our, you know, our regular play. So we'll get rid of those two. Go into our Space Insulator. You could actually go into a Proxy Dragon if you wanted to, but this is more resilient, just in case your Neptibus gets, you know, Ghost Ogred for whatever reason. But anyway, you go get rid of these two. You go into your Sorceress. She's going to point to him, get you a machine from the deck, and now you'll be able to get rid of the token and get rid of the Roseneggs. That'll get you a Link Tone a Link 2 that points sideways. So just to not get a different, you know, to get any additional pluses, we'll just go for the Proxy Dragon or something basic. We'll get rid of the Moulin Glacier. We need to keep the token, remember, for the Link Spider. And get rid of the Sorceress. We'll go to the Firewall. Get rid of the token. Go into the Link Spider. Now that we have that, we can get 2 cards back. We'll get our 2 Dragoons. Those are added to the hand. And what we'll do is we'll banish the Roseneggs, and that'll give us an additional token. Now we can get rid of that token, and we can summon a Link Spider. So now what we'll do is we'll get rid of the Proxy and the Link. Oh, put the token in the graveyard. See, that's why I don't like using those tokens, because I always put them in the graveyard. Summon the Dragoons. Keep the zone empty so you can summon the Gumblar there. Now, well, you got rid of those 2 to summon the Ningirsu. So that triggered your Firewall, summon the Atlanteans. Get rid of these 2, and that'll summon your Gumblar Dragon. That'll trigger the Firewall again. Summon the Goons, overlay both, and then we'll go into Bahamut Shark. Now you're going to set the Sphere, because you don't want to discard this Sphere. It's very important. You're going to get rid of your Dragoons to summon the Totally Awesome right here. That'll trigger your Gumblar in your Dragoons in the graveyard. This is a mandatory effect, so this is Chain Link 1, this is Chain Link 2. So you'll discard the 2 cards you had, drop your opponent's hand size to 1, and then this will resolve, and that'll get you any water monster to your hand, which is this right here. We'll just add the infantry just in case. And then at that point, you can pass. And then same like we did before, your opponent will draw a card, you flip the Sphere, and you'll summon a Mermail. Just like that. As soon as you do, you'll discard a card, and your opponent will discard a card. If your opponent, once you do that, the bad part about this hand loop is because you only draw a certain amount of resources, you're not going to be able to get every single card from your opponent. So they'll be left with 1 card in hand. Now the good thing is you have the Totally Awesome on the field, and you have it'll be able to tribute the Teus just in case you need to negate something. So if your opponent summons anything, if your opponent activates anything that'll disrupt your board, you can just get rid of the Teus, take their card, and then next turn you won't be able to kill them because of the Moulin Glacier, but you'll still have the Toad on there. So if your opponent's top decking, they're not going to be able to do anything because you have the Toad on the field, unless they run, you know, some kind of card that can't be negated or, you know, anything like that. But chances are you're probably going to be okay. A little bit weaker than the other one because you started with less hands. You started with less cards. It required more cards in your hand, but you were still able to make that combo. All right, so at this point of the combo, when you're going to start summoning the Gumblar Dragon, I wanted to make a little correction because I just read Gumblar Dragon's effect, and it is a mandatory effect. It says if it happens, you can. So what you can do to kind of prevent it from activating before everything else is you can set the Sphere. So you want to set the Sphere at this point. If you do not set the Sphere as this point, then you're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna be in danger of having the Sphere discarded by your Gumblar's effect. The other thing to note too is whenever you go into your Ningirsu to special summon your first Dragoons or into your level 2 or whatever, you want to put the Dragoons right here so that it's already next to him, so that you don't have to discard your card before your opponent does. That way, if you link summon into the Gumblar Dragon, you'll be able to summon the Dragoons here and not trigger its effect. If you trigger it a little bit too early, you won't be able to. Now, I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, if you summon him here, your field is already on, your your cards you want on the field are already there, so you're safe at that point. But you're gonna want to at least do that, at least set the trap so that you don't accidentally discard it with the dragon. That's something that I just read because it states if another monster is special summoned, discard 2 cards. If it happens, do it. So it is a mandatory effect that you have to do. But you are able to set it up like this so you don't automatically discard your hand before you even get a chance to play, which is good. I just wanted to kind of go over that just to kind of something that I got confused with the wording. It's worded very similar to the Atlantean Dragoons. Actually, you know what? Let me look it up real quick. So it is a mandatory effect. I just went ahead and searched it. But yes, so what you'll want to do is before you, I would say probably before you even go into your, as soon as you search this, just set it, because you don't want to end up accidentally discarding this. And if you do that, it really doesn't matter. Once you have your 2 Dragoons and these 2 on the field, you can discard your hand, because everything else is just going to be, you know, setting up your negate, that kind of thing. But yes, that's what you want to do. I wanted to make sure I didn't give you guys the wrong information. I wouldn't want to get caught with my pants down, you know, trying to do this combo and then, oh, I actually have to do it right now. That's kind of not the way to go. All in all, this card is really cool in the deck. It does a lot of neat things, especially if you draw the right cards. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a really good card. One, because it doesn't work with every single combo that we do. We can't just replace the Griffin with it and still get its full effect. And 2, it's not going to be good here when the new set comes out, when Cybernetic Horizon comes out, because that's going to have the dangers in it, and people are going to start running that with Dark World. And if you try to discard any cards from Dark World or Danger, you're going to have a bad time. Furthermore, a lot of people are playing BA as well. A lot of those trigger in the graveyard as well. So really, all in all, it's a cool card in concept. If you're, depending on the meta, it's going to be a good choice. But right now, especially with the new set coming out, I don't think it'll be a very good card to run in the main deck. Maybe in the side deck, depending on the matchup that you run. But even then, you still have to draw one of the combinations of cards and just hope that you don't get interrupted. Because, you know, you're basically putting all your chips in one basket whenever you're doing that. And if your opponent ends up playing out of it, then you can't really do much after that. But if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks to Gabe for watching this video.